All you need is a little juju. All you need is a little juju. All you need is a little juju. All you need.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of A Little Juju podcast. Hopefully, if you are listening to the audio version, you head on over to JujuTube or YouTube, where you can check out me interviewing the lovely Erricka Bridgeford. I'm so excited and happy that she's here today. I have been looking forward to this. I feel like I manifested this.
Yes.
So I'm just very, very happy that we get to talk to each other. So hi, Erricka.
Hi.
It's so good that you're here. And I appreciate you so much for your work. I found out about you and your name actually when I was living in Chicago, because I just moved back to Baltimore. And my mom, I do my spiritual work and everything. She's like, when you move back, you need to connect with this woman named Erricka. And I was like, okay.
Wow.
And she was like, no, she does this thing, it's ceasefire. And if I'm being honest, I was kind of like, okay. Like,
right. Like,
all right, Mom.
Okay. What is that?
What is that? Okay.
Why would I do that?
so then I was I made a new friend named Kondwani. And so I'm telling him about my work.
Right.
He's like, yo, you need to connect with Erricka, yo. And I'm like, Erricka. He's like, ceasefire. I'm like, okay, my mother was just telling me about her.
That's crazy.
So clearly this is somebody that I need to know and connect with, but I didn't know how that would even happen. And then I guess fortunately and unfortunately, tragedy kind of brought us together because of the space ritual and Edwin being killed. And I met you there as we're like welcoming him into the spirit realm and cleansing the space as you do. And from that point on, it's just you interview me surprisingly. And I interview you. So I'm just so grateful that the events transpired as they did, because it happened for a reason.
Yeah.
So can you tell us a little bit about who you are? Like, how do you identify yourself in any way, any form?
Girl, that is a really good question, because I don't really identify myself. People identify me all the time themselves, So often when people are like, well, tell me your story, I'm like, well, which story do you want to hear? Because there's a lot of them. And all of them make up who I, crystallize as in this moment, And so I am a mother. I had 3 birth children, some stepchildren. One of my stepsons gave me 3 grandbabies. So he's actually my favorite child of everybody at this point. Because being a grandmother is like way better than being a mother, but people don't tell you that. I'm a sister, I'm a daughter. I am the executive director at Baltimore Community Mediation Center. I am co-founder of Baltimore Ceasefire 365, which has catapulted me into a leadership role of a movement, which is not at all what I thought was about to happen. And as a matter of fact, for at least 2 or 3 years prior, I had been adamant about, no, I'm not going to lead a movement. And so, the ceasefire movement became something way bigger than I don't think there's any way we could have known all the things that it would become. And so because it's something that I birthed, somebody else planted the seed. It was Ogun's idea. He wanted to have one day where everybody in the city knew that there was a ceasefire. And then my part of the idea was that, well, let's make it 3 days and let's have people also celebrating life the whole time. So we brought those ideas together and then brought them to community, and the community named it Baltimore Ceasefire and the Baltimore Peace Challenge, so that people who think that, well, I wasn't planning on killing anybody, y'all must not be talking to me, that it's not just about not killing, but it really is about all of us being intentional and purposeful, harnessing our collective energy and collective consciousness to be peaceful together on purpose for 3 days straight, and to be celebrating life for 3 days straight. And it started as one weekend and became a lot more. And so because I birthed it mean that I became a lot more than what I ever thought I even had in me. There's no way, I don't think that I could have known I would have become this person that people, it's crazy because people are like, sometimes people are really happy to meet me. Like if they just run into me on the street, they're like, oh my God, keep doing what you're doing. You know, like, and that keeps me going. It puts a battery in my back. But it's also very bizarre when people meet me and they're like, damn, I really hoped I would never have to meet you. Because a lot of times if you meet me, it's because somebody you love has gotten killed.
Yep.
And yes, I'm there to give love and support, and people are very appreciative of that. So even in that painful space, they're grateful for what we're there to do with them and for them. But like, I'm not people's favorite person to meet in that situation, you know? So it's like, I'm this angel of joy and death all at the same time. And you know, that God didn't tell me that part at first, you know, like when I had that rumbling in my gut, like, damn it, we gotta call a ceasefire. Like, I knew it was gonna be a lot of work, you know, just to throw that one weekend in August, right? I was just already like, that's gonna be a lot of work because I'm an organizer and I understand when you're trying to get over 600,000 people on the same page about something, that's not an easy task that you're taking on. And it's not something you're going to fully accomplish your first time around. So I knew, you know, we knew we weren't going to do it just that one weekend, but at first we didn't know how often we were going to do it. And so, you know, as this evolved, that is, you know, I think it's probably a blessing that a lot of times we have no knowledge of what we're actually signing up for. Because I'm telling you, I would have been like, oh yeah, never mind. I'm not saying that shit out loud. You know, and then end up having to do all this other stuff. Like, yeah, I wouldn't have. I know I wouldn't have taken it on.
Right. So I have listeners from all over the world, and so just for y'all, because I feel like everybody in Baltimore know who Erricka is, in my opinion. But it's basically a time and weekends that are dedicated to people not killing anybody.
That's right.
Like period. That's simply what it is. And Erricka is one of the people who, like as you said, was the person who birthed that idea or this concept in the way that it has grown and developed now. And to be honest, you know, when my mother was telling me about it before I came back, I was kind of like, so just because we say we're not gonna kill anybody, people not gonna die. Like, I really did not understand. I didn't.
Really good. Yeah.
And it took me in listening to other interviews, reading and understanding that it was about the intention of, we're gonna say that it matters that people don't die these weekends.
That's right.
That's it. It starts there.
It just starts there.
Yep. And it's just
and so I have become, one of my friends, Ellen G, who's one of the organizers of the movement as well. There are 6 of us. We call ourselves the squad because I was not going to do all of this by myself. Ogun told me from the very beginning he was not going to be interviewed. He was not going to give speeches. He was like, good luck when it becomes a big thing because everybody going to call you. And I was like, it's not going to be a big thing till like 5 years from now. So I didn't know what I was talking about. Just anyway, I didn't know what I was talking about. But she says that I'm a master manifester. And it is really true. It's something that I accept now in my life, that from the moment I say something and then it manifests, that amount of time is quickening, is getting shorter and shorter in my own personal life. So I believe in it's not even just a belief. I know how to manifest things. And I understand that things get created on one level when we just think them. And they manifest on a different level when we add words to those thoughts, and it manifests something totally different when we think it, say it, and do things about it. And so all we're doing is manifesting in Baltimore what we know Baltimore deserves. We're not just thinking, wow, people should stop dying in our city. Too many people die in our city. We're not just thinking that. We're saying out loud to one another. Tell 3 people every single day, which means you're going to run out of people that you know. Because now you're going to have to start talking to strangers, right? If you're telling 3 new people every day, hey, do you know about when the next Baltimore ceasefire weekend is? Are you prepared to celebrate life? Can you be peaceful on purpose for 3 days? Like just that conversation, if everybody's having that conversation,
it shifts energies.
it's just energy. And if everybody is saying, or a lot of people are saying, I do want to celebrate life, I am going to plan a life affirming event. I'm going to send my event to them and put it on the calendar so everybody in the city can come. Mm-hmm. That's why we have over 30 events. There's always 30 to over 50 events that happen every single ceasefire weekend. Mm-hmm. And the beautiful thing about it is that has not really slowed down even during the pandemic. People were like, all right, we're going to get creative and do virtual kinds of events or socially distanced events. Mm-hmm. And so it really is about us making a decision that since we know if we do nothing, people will die and more people will die if we do nothing.
Yes.
At least we can do something, because doing something tells us, just the simple math of it, doing something tells us less people are going to get killed than would have had we done nothing.
Right, right.
And that's the number people can never tell you. People love to tell us how many people get killed in the city. Well, is good work really working if this many people still get killed? First of all, we are the wrong people to give the number to. We know the number. We go to every single murder space. You don't have to tell me the number. The number you can't tell me is how many lives are saved because of how much good work is being done in this city. How many lives are blessed because of how much good work is being done in this city. Until people can tell me that number, I don't want to hear nothing else about is the work really working because of this number of people that are being killed. You got to give me a balance of both numbers, because I live the one number that you have that you're doing nothing about. I live that number. Right. I engage with every soul in that number. Yes. Right. Tell me about how many lives are saved and blessed. When we got both of those numbers, we can have a clearer picture of what's actually happening in Baltimore.
Right, right. And not even just lives, spirits that actually end up being blessed.
Come on.
But people also aren't talking about the work that you do. I'm gonna get into that. But I want to know how you got to, understanding yourself as a manifester and being born and raised in Baltimore. How do you get to where you are now and understanding the power of the intention in a city that can so often bring us a lot of life, but also drain us in a lot of ways?
That's really good. So for me, first of all, people just cannot talk shit about Baltimore in my presence. Like, it's just, you just can't do it. It's not acceptable behavior. Mm-hmm. Because if you love me, everything that you love about me, anything you praise about me, anything you think is great, strong, resilient, whatever you see in me that you think is the shit, you have to acknowledge you are looking at Baltimore. Yes. I've never lived anywhere else. Mm-hmm. Right? No other city has taught me about my worth and my what I can accomplish and any of that. It's all been Baltimore. My grit, my determination, my can't fuck with me-ness, all of that is Baltimore, right? And I don't know if I would have turned out to be the same kind of person had I been raised in another city. Now, being Black in America, I understand in my DNA comes resilience, right? Just because we should be extinct by now, given everything that has and continues to happen to us systemically, right? So I get, like, as a Black woman, it's in my DNA to rise, period, right? But there's something about Baltimore that puts a Baltimore thing in you, So that's one thing, is somebody has to hold in their heart Baltimore's worth. All the time, no matter how bad it looks, somebody has to hold the light and walk with it like they really mean it and understand it and shine it out every chance they get. And I take that responsibility very seriously as being one of the people in this city who do that. Yes. And I look around me and I'm not the only one who does that. Like, if it was only me, I probably would have quit 2 years ago. Right? But everywhere you look in this city, there are people doing good work and holding the light of Baltimore in their heart, And so I was born. So my parents, my dad was 17 and my mom was 15 when they had a conversation, right? So again, thinking, speaking, and doing. It's how I literally got created.
Wow.
My parents had a conversation as teenagers in 1971 or 2, because I was born in 72. They decided they were going to have a son who was going to change the world. So when they laid down to conceive me, that was the intention in their sex.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? So when I'm born a girl with one hand, and that meant that like my birth story even, so evidently having a dead limb on your body is the most painful thing a human body can experience. I was born with a dead limb on my body. So I had a right arm and hand, but it was dead. So they had to amputate it at birth. But at whatever point that I arrived in the birth canal where there was enough oxygen for me to feel that there was a dead limb, I began to scream. So my mother says I was screaming in the womb. People in the room could hear me screaming inside of her before she pushed me out.
Wow.
And then as she pushed me out, so it was like a muffled scream turned into a very loud audible scream. Right. I came into this world writhing in pain. You know what I mean? Looking broken. I didn't eat for 12 hours. They didn't understand. They thought I was going to die. I had all kinds of stuff wrong with me. Baltimore is that same way. Baltimore looks broken. Baltimore is just constantly in this kind of pain where we're screaming. Sometimes it's muffled. Sometimes it's real loud and audible. But just like I look broken to people, and people perceive me as a thing to pity because of how I look, I have had to learn my entire life about my wholeness and how to walk in my wholeness in a society that is constantly trying to tell me what I'm not and what I can't do. Baltimore has that same experience. So it makes perfect sense to me that this is the city I will be born in because we have so much in common. Right. So if I see my wholeness, I have no choice but to see Baltimore's wholeness because look at what I turned out to be. Right. A Black girl from West Baltimore public housing. And so I'm very aware of that responsibility, but also I know that when little girls see me, when people who have disabilities see me, when people who are right now growing up in the neighborhood that I grew up in see me, they're like, yo, she from round the way. If she can be out here being her full, complete self and still making this kind of change in the world, what must I be able to do? And who am I not to do it if she's doing it? Like, that's a real thing. Yep. So it's just math to me, you know, that me plus Baltimore is gonna equal something beautiful.
Yes, that was beautiful. You were clearly called, you know, by the God and the ancestors and the spirits to be whole and to mirror wholeness to us.
Yeah.
And how or what experiences have you had that was like, oh yeah, I gotta do this. Like I know I got people walking with me and I gotta do this.
That's good. So I think there have been different things. Like when I now that I can put it all together and I see what the movement has become up to this point, and not just being about weekends that happen and the real spiritual work that we're constantly doing. I have to put together all the different things in my life. So ever since I was a little girl, I've had dreams and visions. I would dream one of my friends was going to shoot one of my other friends, which did not make sense because they were best friends.
Right.
2 weeks later, it happened. You know what I mean? People would die. Sometimes people I knew, sometimes people I've never met before. And after they died, I would have a dream of them telling me something that I was supposed to say to somebody. And then I would wake up, I would go tell the person the thing, and I would be like, this is going to sound weird. I don't know why the fuck I'm telling you this right now, but so-and-so need me to tell you that. And then I would say it. And most of those things, I don't even remember. Once I delivered a message,
Yep.
I don't even know what it was I said to the person, but they carry it with them because they will bust out crying.
Yep.
They will go, oh my God, I've been asking for that answer, whatever, right? That has been happening to me my entire life. When I was little, I used to feel like I was a person that like the entire world was watching me live my life. This was before reality TV or Facebook. You know what I'm saying? So there are things that like have literally manifested in my life that I've been aware of ever since I was little. So then when you add to that, you know, me having one hand and having to navigate the world, you know, with that, going through low self-esteem and coming to a place finally and legitimately not even really until deep into my 30s did I really accept my full wholeness, I think. You know, still hadn't fully accepted or walked in my purpose yet, but it's a, you know, that journey is a process. And so then I learned that my life path is 11 and what that means. And, you know, and I joined the ranks of Jesus and all these other kind of people that were life path 11s. And I'm like, oh, yeah. And it takes us a while before we fully walk into our journey because of how much there is for our souls to do. We got to evolve and heal so that we have the wherewithal to take on fully what we are commissioned to do while we're here as 11s, you know? So just like there are things that I've encountered and learned all through my life. And then when my brother, David, we called him Corny, he was killed in January of 2007. Wasn't the first person I lost to murder, but it was the most personal, right? And so maybe 2 years later, I was asked to get involved in helping to repeal Maryland's death penalty. They were asking for people who have lost people to murder, but were still against the death penalty. So my experience in that, I ended up having the words to shift people, legislators, off of the fence or from being for the death penalty, shifting for not. Because I understood that revenge is a very empty energy. And it does not do what you think it's going to do. It uses you up and then throws you over in the corner, and your person is still never coming back. No matter how much revenge you get. It just drains the shit out of you. It doesn't really feed you at all.
Yep.
And you're still left with having to do that healing work of never seeing your person again, right? So I was able to articulate things like that shifted people. And so the death penalty got repealed. So, you know, I've been, ever since I was little, I've been learning and experiencing that my voice matters. So I don't doubt at this time in my life that what I think matters, my experience matters, my voice matters. When I had a prosthetic when I was little, and when I turned 7, I had like outgrown it somewhere around there. And my parents came to me and asked, do you want to even get refitted for a new one? And I was like, thank you for asking, because no, I don't actually. It makes me feel more handicapped, and it's actually in my way while I'm trying to do stuff. And, you know, so I've been molded. My parents believed that I was here to change the world. And so they understood if she's here to change the world and that's what we asked for her to be, we have to treat her like she knows what the fuck she talking about her own journey. You know what I'm saying?
Even as
so
a child.
all of that, right? All of that stuff, you know, so, you know, bad experiences. I've been raped twice in my life by friends, you know, like all kinds of experiences. I've had to learn that the most dark, devastating experiences of my life, if I decide to find where the beauty is in them, where the blessing is in them, it is there all the time. Through my suicide attempt and 7 days on the psych ward and being raped twice and people, bodies just dropping all around me left and right. If I decided there is beauty here for me, I would find it, right? So all of that informs the way I perceive the world, which means it informs the way I move in the world. And what I do and don't accept people to say to me or make me believe or whatever, you know. Yeah.
Wow, that was, you just dropped so many gems on me just now.
I've also been talking ever since I was 5 months old, right?
Wow.
So when your parents say, oh, we're going to have a child that's going to change the world. Oh, it's not a boy. All right, she'll be a girl then. We're going to name her after powerful women. So had I been a boy, I would have been named Malcolm, my first name, after Malcolm X, Patrice after Patrice Lumumba. Two men who were assassinated before I was, like, I wouldn't have known, I wouldn't have experienced them in my lifetime, right? But because I was a girl, my parents named me Erricka after Erricka Huggins, who was a Black Panther and still does work to this day. And my middle name is Angela after Angela Davis. So instead of being named after people who were assassinated, I have been named after women that I can watch my entire lifetime.
Right.
You know what I mean? So being born like that, and then when I started talking at 5 months old, you know, when you learn things about yourself, you realize like, oh yeah, I'm commissioned.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like I was going to need to have a strong mastery of the English language to articulate pain, to articulate joy, and hold them in my body at the same time for the entire city at times. You know, you need to have good access to language to be that person. So yeah, I needed to start talking in the early, right? Wow. And my mom said, she said something to me when I was 5 months old, and I said no. And she was thinking, okay, this baby is too young to actually know what she just said to me. So she said whatever it was to me again. And she said, I looked her dead in her eyes and said, no. So she was like, okay, not only is she talking, but she's sarcastic. She knows what she's talking about. So by the time I was 10 months old, I was having whole conversations with people.
Wow. You are like definition of ancestor returned. I know your parents was looking at you like this is an old child.
And here's what's crazy, right? So people tell me, anybody who does energy work on me, ever, Reiki or doing a reading on me, or even like masseuses who also do Reiki, while they're giving me my massage, everybody that touches my spirit says to me that there are legions of spirit guides and angels and ancestors that show up in the room and tell them, say this to her, do that to her, make sure she understands this. And that they are loud and forceful. And if the person has any inkling not to do it, that they come stronger.
Yes.
And my mother told me, she said, I want you to know it's not just your ancestors who walk with you. Because of how hard you ride for the spirit world, all the ancestors ride with you.
Yes.
And I'm like, well, they would want to because they know I'm crazy. Like, you know what I mean? They got to be on God 24/7, because who knows what I might be out here doing or saying. You know, a murder will happen, and right after a murder happens, it's not really safe to be in that neighborhood. Right? For a lot of reasons. It never dawned on me that it wasn't safe to show up in neighborhoods while blood is still on the ground and tempers are still high. It never dawned on me. And I think it's because I'm aware that I'm always safe. If I'm called to do something, I'm not gonna not be safe. And if I die doing this work, I'm gonna be perfectly fine with that. Because clearly that's what was supposed to happen. And I'm gonna leave here empty.
Right.
Knowing that I poured out everything I was supposed to do, I'm not gonna have any regrets. I'm gonna go to my ancestors, and I know I'm gonna get a job well done.
Yes, Ashe.
Yeah.
I want to talk about how you even got to the place of doing the sacred space rituals, and can you just explain what that is for people who don't know?
So a sacred space ritual is Baltimore's way of showing up every single time somebody is murdered in Baltimore. So we believe that we exist before we take a body, and we continue to exist after we lay our bodies down. So we're honoring that though the person's body has you know, they're no longer using their body, their light being is still a real thing, right? Their essence, what they actually are, is still a real thing. So we show up in the space intentional to put our life, love-filled bodies in the exact spot where their pain-filled bodies fell, so that their bodies don't have that experience alone. But also thanking them for their life, saying to them how much their life matters to us, that we're going to take them with us on our journey, that we're wishing them all joy and abundance in their journey, whatever they're choosing to do now on the other side, asking them to fight for us on the other side. So they're very intentional things. We're pouring light and love into the neighborhood, looking into every crevice and corner, saying, let there be light, let there be love, let there be whatever. We're burning sage and frankincense and whatever else, other kind of medicines, right? To help to cleanse space and ground energy, you know, and all of that stuff. Because just like somebody showed up to kill the person, people should show up to love the person.
Yes.
And to claim it as sacred ground. Right. So that murder doesn't have the last memory in our neighborhoods. Murder doesn't have the last say in our neighborhoods. And the reason, so I started doing it after the first ceasefire weekend. So when we were planning the first one in August of 2017, I said, if somebody gets killed, we're going to invite as many people who want to come to the actual murder location. We're going to form a circle and surround the spot where the person's body fell. And we're going to bless the space. There will be no feelings of revenge allowed in that space, right? Because there's enough toxic energy in a murder location.
Right.
A murder happened, right? So we're there to show up with something different. Grief is okay. Sadness is okay, you know?
Right.
But love, joy, memories of the person, whatever, right? That's what we showed up to do. And it dawned on me to do that because when my brother was killed in 2007, after that, I watched my mother purposely never go anywhere near that block. Right. If she had to drive back into that neighborhood, she made sure she didn't go that way.
Right.
Right. And so it dawned on me one day, it's because she can feel the darkness in that space. Right? The negative darkness, because we know that darkness can be a beautiful part of our evolution sometimes, right? Yes. But the pieces of darkness that we are like, the toxic parts, she can feel that because she lost her first son in this block. Of course. So just going anywhere near it, she feels it as she starts to approach it. She's not going back there. So what must need to happen in those spaces to cleanse that energy so that it feels safe for people? That's what made me decide, we're going to do that if somebody gets killed during a ceasefire. And after that first weekend, when we decided, we're going to do it now every 3 months. And so the next ceasefire weekend was going to happen the first weekend in November, somewhere in October. My birthday is October 9th. So, you know, you have all kind of realizations around your own New Year. Right. So somewhere in October, I was like, we're not supposed to just do it during ceasefire weekends because that means these are these toxic holes all over our city that are portals for negativity. So we got to go seal all of these spaces with love and light because that's what our city deserves. And so I told everybody after the November ceasefire, I'm going to start showing up at every location where somebody gets killed and y'all can join me if y'all want to. Wow. And what's crazy, right? So that's the part of like, there's no way in the world I could have known that I was going to start doing that.
Right.
And in doing it, I can feel. So if I'm driving to a space somewhere between 10 and 5 minutes out from the space, sometimes I don't even know what to call it, but butterflies in my chest and my stomach, right? And when that happens, I've learned, because the first time it happened, I was 8 minutes away from the space. And I was like, why is it this? You know, why do I feel so shaken on the inside as I'm going to this space? And when I showed up, it was the first time that blood was still on the ground and it was cold outside. And so it had congealed. Blood is like a gel when it freezes. I didn't know. I have learned so much about what happens when murder happens on the streets. So one thing is that blood is very stubborn. And so even when they show up to wash it away, very often, if it's too hot or too cold, it's just is stubborn because it's life energy, right? So it doesn't just go away easily because life is really eternal. And so, so I've learned, just like my mother could feel when she was approaching my brother's spot, I have developed this ability to feel when I'm about to go into a spot that's gonna rock me a little bit. You know what I mean? The preparation, the mercy, all of that stuff, the grace that we are given in doing this spiritual work, and all the miracles that we see happen, the siblings that happen to show up, the uncle that happened to be riding down the street while we're there. It was a double shooting and one person died and one person survived. And when we show up to do the spot, the other person who survived happens to show up and tell us, oh my God, that was me. You know what I mean? You can't explain that shit away. You gotta say, oh yeah, miracles are going to happen in the middle of the tragedy. Right.
That is, I'm getting I'm emotional anyway, but I'm just like, this is so this isn't something that you grow up and be like, one day I'm gonna go to every spot. Like, this is something that has to be put on your life to do. And it's just amazing to witness you literally go to every single spot that somebody has been murdered in Baltimore. I know you know that it's impactful, but I feel like I just have to keep saying, like, thank you.
Thank you.
Because as somebody who also has dreams, sees people being murdered, gets visited by people who were murdered, and still sees some of the spirits around who haven't fully transitioned or whatever, just from centuries old, from back to slavery time. It's the fact that you are carrying something so heavy is like, it's amazing, it's powerful, it's almost so incredible that I can't fully conceptualize what you're doing. But,
me either, girl.
Like, I'm like, how?
I don't, and I love that people keep telling me that it's impactful, because I think when you are the one doing it, you are protected from really knowing how impactful it is. You know, I think it protects us from becoming too arrogant or ego-centered in the work, that I really don't have a real understanding of how impactful it is.
Right.
Because that's not what I'm supposed to be focused on, really. Right. I'm supposed to be present in every step of it, you know? And so there are times when it's important to step back and realize, like, holy shit, is that what this look like that I'm doing? No wonder people be zapping out when they meet me. You know what I'm saying? Yes. But I don't stay in that space because you go back to doing the work. So I'm back with my head down, like in the moment, doing it.
Right.
So, but I need to hear it sometimes because I'm human and I need that encouragement. Right. There are days that, you know, there are times when, like, so for a lot of 2019, we didn't go to a lot of the spaces because we were just spiritually exhausted, you know? And I know for myself, I didn't understand that what I called self-care was not anywhere near conducive for facing murder the way that I do, right? And so I had to change my whole way of being to give me the wherewithal to consistently show up every time, and to show up with joy in my heart every time. Show up, I can't wait to talk to this new ancestor every time. Like, so and it's still an evolution and a journey for me. So when people are like, well, how do you do it? The short answer is I have a Harriet Tubman spirit in me. And what I mean by that is people thought she was crazy all the time.
Yes.
She always said, I really don't give a fuck what you think I'm supposed to be doing. God said turn left, so we turn it left. God said walk through the river that we normally go around, so we walking through the river this time. I don't have to know why. God said do it, so I'm doing it. That is the way that I function. I don't know why I'm doing things all the time or why not to do things all the time. I'm giving that answer later every time.
Right.
But a lot of times I've had to learn I don't need to know why.
Right.
Right. That was a process. Because I love to know why. Like,
Same.
What you mean I can't know? I need to know.
Right.
Right? But that's not how this works. So I'm like, oh, I don't always have to need. What I know is I'm not supposed to do it, or I am supposed to do it. That's enough.
Right.
So I function that way. And in that, I've evolved, so the things I do in the space has evolved. The things that I do when I'm not in the space to take care of myself before and after has evolved. How I view myself, I've spent most of up until this birthday. So I just turned 48 in October. All before that, my entire adult life, people have heard me say, I hate being in human form. I cannot stand it. This is some straight bullshit. I'm not doing this again. I don't know what I'm gonna have to do to make sure I don't have to do this shit again, but I'm going to do it. And it's a big part of the reason why I'm like, oh, I need to be my full greatness, my full highest vision of myself, my full whatever. I need to do all of that while I'm here so that I don't feel a need to come back in human form, because I'm very aware I don't want to come back in human. Right. And if I have to come back, I'm going to be some unseen shit like the wind or vibration or some shit like that. I'm very clear about that.
Right.
So, but I had to learn that me perceiving it that way and saying that made me not appreciate that I'm a 3-part being. It made me only honor my spirit and my mind, and to say, fuck my body. My body is inconsequential. My body doesn't matter. It's a piece of shit anyway. It's really an illusion. It's not the real me. It's just a shell. Blah, 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 blah. Right? True things, but not with the right perception or what it is.
Right.
And so, I've just fully come to understand that if you don't honor all 3 parts of what you are as a being, you can't fully show up the way you want to. And I can't just nurture my spirit and my mind and neglect my body or call my body inconsequential. But also it meant that I had a really negative perception about my life. So while I'm being celebrated and people gave me a car for free, cut a sunroof in that bitch for me, customized it, right? I'm winning awards left and right from everybody that think about giving somebody an award. Oh, we should give it to Erricka Bridgeford, right? All of that is happening, and I kept being confused about why I'm not as excited and happy as everybody else is. And then that caused guilt and shame, right? So it started dawning on me, oh, it's because I don't think that I'm that great. So when people celebrate me, there's something inside me that's like, well, this thing that's happening to me must not be that big of a deal, because I'm not that big of a deal. So I couldn't get as excited about things that were happening as I should have.
Yep.
Right. So that was one step. So I started putting stuff on my wall that says, I am Erricka Bridgeford and I am the shit.
Yes.
And I am great. And I am magnificent. You know what I'm saying? So it started with stuff like that a few years ago, but it led me to now going, oh, it means I don't like my life because I think my body is inconsequential and this being in human form is some bullshit. So I made a decision. I'm not saying that anymore. I'm still not coming back in human form. Let's be clear. However, I perceive it differently. Like, life is a bitch, but she my bitch.
Okay.
I'm going to take a walk with her. I'm a dater. I'm a lover. Yeah. No matter what happened, I'm going to find the beauty in her. Yeah. We walk in this shit hand in hand. I love my life. And so it changed. So between August and my birthday, I had lost 20 pounds because I was eating differently. I was drinking all the water. My skin looked like I got foundation on it all the time because I'm just taking better care of myself, my body, because I honor my body with the same reverence. Just because it's a temporary thing doesn't mean I'm not supposed to honor it. Right. Now I hold my body in the same esteem as I hold my mind and my spirit. So I'm functioning more as a full being in the world. But that took me 48 years to understand.
Yeah, I resonate so much with so much of what you're saying and feeling like I don't understand why y'all doing all this for me, but thanks. I don't understand. So I'm glad to know it's a journey. Maybe I will get it when I'm 48.
It's a journey, because I'm gonna tell you what's hard for people like us too. We know so many spiritual things, and so we're hard on ourselves when we're not applying all of the things that we know. I know better than this. Why the fuck am I still thinking about it this way and responding? We're so hard on ourselves instead of understanding how to really be grateful for the miracle of time.
That's it.
Right? Because we know time doesn't exist in the spiritual realm, but we're also in a physical realm where time is a tool.
Right.
For our unfolding and our becoming and our evolving and our rising and all of that stuff. Yeah. And so like, that's also a huge thing to do, is like, remember to have self-compassion. You know, I got to a place where I was like, when I started being like, well, I know, why am I still doing this? I know better. I tell other people all the time, why am I still like that? Right. So self-compassion says, okay, but given who you are and everything you've been through, does it make sense that you still think this way and act that way? The answer is always yes. It makes perfect.
Yes.
And then, so then I get patient, right? Like, oh, well, it makes sense for me to be here. So although this is something I want to evolve out of, I'm going to love myself still while I'm in it fully.
In the process.
And I'm going to be patient, because what I know for a fact is, because I want to be something different, I'm calling to me all of the situations and circumstances that are going to help purge this thing out of me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I won't always be this way.
That part. Woo! Thank you. I want to know, as we are closing out, what do you think spiritual healing can look like for people in Baltimore? I mean, granted, for people everywhere, but specifically here, what does it mean for the city to spiritually heal? And I know everybody's not on the same level of burning stuff and doing all that, and understanding what is a way that we can connect or do the healing work with everybody?
Yeah. So the thing that comes immediately to my mind, and just hearing you ask that question, I don't know, like, all the different places in the diaspora that people from Baltimore specifically come from. But I bet it's some serious shit. Just because, right, when you know what has happened to Baltimore, Baltimore was one of the places in the country immediately after chattel slavery ended. People in Baltimore started being great immediately. Like we were like, oh, bitch. Oh, okay, I'm gonna be a lawyer and a doctor, and we gonna own this whole neighborhood, and we gonna, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And so it was very intentional. That was jarring for a system of the myth of white supremacy. For we just set y'all free, and y'all out here showing off with y'all razzle dazzle and shit. That was something that was in us, right? And a lot has been intentionally done to make us have amnesia about that. About what we actually have in our fiber, in the fabric of who we are in Baltimore. A lot continues to be done, from lead poisoning to blight to redlining to nowhere can you find fresh fruits and vegetables in your neighborhood, to the education, like you can, all of it, chicken box spots and liquor stores in every neighborhood, and like all of it. A lot has been done and continues to be done to our city to perpetuate a fake narrative about who we are and our birthright, what we deserve, right? So for me, our healing looks like every fucking opportunity that you had to remind a Baltimorean of their light and their possibility, and that they deserve to manifest whatever their highest vision of their self is. I don't care what's happening to you or around you. It never changes the fact that you are worthy.
Right.
Just because people trying to hide your worth from you don't mean your worth is not always waiting for you like shit. Like, so our healing to me looks like We can't call ourselves Be More Murder Lane. We feeding into a false narrative about ourselves.
Right.
We're taking pride in the wrong things. We're right for looking for things to shine and floss and stunt on everybody about. Baltimore is very much like we got to be the dopest. We going to be the flyest. Everybody, you want to be like us. We stunting on all of y'all. We stepping on all y'all necks. We got that in us.
We did.
But sometimes we misinterpret how to use it. And so we use it because we are so oppressed. We feel that yearning in ourselves. And so we, we manifest it sometimes in toxic ways, right? Because we haven't been taught and shown, and the narratives about who we are so toxic that we rage against that machine sometimes in ways that's not good for who we really are to manifest, Right. So any little thing that you do to be a mirror for somebody's light in Baltimore, for somebody's worth in Baltimore, you are contributing to our awakening.
I love that. And it is small, but it's not. That's
not.
how movements get started. Just as one person saying something to another person to another person.
It's how oppression happens. It's one person thinking it and then saying it and making a law and a policy to enforce it. You know what I'm saying? And then narratives and media and imagery to keep it going. So we got to do exactly the same thing with our words, right? About life and celebrating life and being peaceful and being great. And it's why in real life, it's why Baltimore Ceasefire as a movement is one of the dopest, like from a visual standpoint. We purposely change the logo every single ceasefire weekend. It's Baltimore. We're not wearing the same thing we wore last ceasefire. We got to stun on y'all this time again.
Right.
You ain't see this shit coming.
Right. Our
logo, even the main logo, that red, black, and white, that shit, people see those t-shirts in the street and be like, where can I get that hoodie? Give me that. We know it's Baltimore. You gotta, if you're not flossing, and I don't care how good your work is, if it don't have a certain kind of charisma to it, Baltimoreans gonna kind of like not pay attention to it. But when you grab people like, yo, our new t-shirts, you can match with your Jordans. You can. We got this bright ass pink. You know what I'm saying? We got this bright ass pink, this neon purple. We got this
dragon
that you can match with however you dye your hair next month, Baltimore girls.
Right.
We know we Baltimore. We understand.
Right.
We gonna give y'all the right kind of stuff to floss and stunt on the world with. And in real life, the entire world descended on Baltimore during that first ceasefire. There are articles about this movement that are in languages we can't read. Right? Still now, we turn down interviews from people trying to tell stories about Baltimore and want to include us in it. Because people still want to tell negative stories about Baltimore and then say, but there's this one good thing happening. And we like, fuck that. We're not participating in that interview. Like, we're not the only good thing happening. So come back to me when you got a different story you want to tell about Baltimore, But my point is, we still stunt on this whole world.
Yeah.
The whole world still looks to Baltimore like, what are they doing? What are they saying? How are they healing?
It's true. And we're a city that wants healing and is open to healing in all forms.
Yes.
And period.
We find that out every time we are out blessing murder spaces because people just smell sage in their neighborhood or they see some smoke, they jump out of their cars.
Yep.
They run out of their houses. Yep. Can you come in and smudge my whole house? They don't care that they know we're going to walk in and sometimes see that their house look a mess on the inside. They don't give a fuck.
Yep.
Come in here and give me all that smoke.
Yes. That's true.
Lines of corner boys. Hand me the sage when y'all done. Yep. We gone. They still walking through the neighborhood with the sage.
Yeah.
Corner boys.
Yeah.
I'm on Emerson and Pulaski at a red light. A truck pulls up beside me, all the windows tinted. They roll the windows down. Nothing but a bunch of weed smoke come flying out the car.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody go, yo, that is the ceasefire, bitch. I told you that. Ain't you the ceasefire, bitch? I'm sorry, I don't mean no disrespect, but ain't you her? I'm dying laughing. I need
most Baltimore shit.
I want a t-shirt that say that ceasefire, bitch. I swear to God, just because of what these dudes did for me that day. Ain't you her? I was like, yeah, I'm her. I told you, yo. And then the whole car, keep doing what you doing, shorty. We need you out here. I don't give a fuck who say this work not working.
Yep.
They the people I listen to.
Yep.
Right? Yep. So people want.
They do.
Even if they think what we're doing is not fully working as much as they want, they don't want us to stop.
Yep.
I will be the worst headline in Baltimore history if I decide to stop doing this work. That will be a news cycle for at least 2 weeks.
Yes. And that's so true, because even when I was just me and my friend Coco was just doing readings in the city. Everybody, corner boys, whoever was like, y'all doing
when LNG told me y'all was doing that, I said, they doing what? They just posted up on the corner and just doing readings for people.
Just sitting there, like, if you want to come over here, you can come.
That's why people can't tell me, oh, Baltimore, they don't care. Just throw the whole city in the You don't know what the fuck you talking about. With all due respect, just because you see our hopelessness, if that's all you see, you clearly don't know us.
Right.
Because Baltimore is a real recognized, real kind of place. Mm-hmm. Period. Mm-hmm. So you show up with some good energy, and it's going to be people flocking to get it. So from all of that, now we got some new Sacred Space Ritual t-shirts and hoodies. On the front, it say, come get the smoke. Yeah. With a sage bundle on it.
I need to grab one.
Going all up the t-shirt, bitch, because the people have spoken.
Yes.
For 3 years, they have shown us that when we show up, they want the smoke.
Yes.
Can't tell me my city ain't love. It's no love like Baltimore love.
It's not. I love my city. I'm just like you. You cannot disrespect the city anywhere near me. Near me.
No, I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're the mayor.
Yep.
I don't care. Don't call me and ask me what's my response to some dumb shit the mayor just said about Baltimore.
Right.
Because you're going to get a quote.
You're going to get a quote.
You're going to get some quotes. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Ericka. Can you tell people how they can find you, link up with you, they want to buy a shirt? Give us the things.
Yeah, so Baltimore Ceasefire 365. You can find BaltimoreCeasefire.com, Baltimore Ceasefire on Instagram, Baltimore Ceasefire on Facebook. It's Be More Ceasefire on Twitter. We're not as active on Twitter, but we a lot of times share the Instagram stuff to Twitter.
Okay.
And there's a contact page on our website. So if you can send us an email, if you like to get on our listserv, there's all kind of ways you can see how to get involved on the website. Cool. My personal stuff is Erricka Wonder Voice on Instagram. My name is spelled Erricka, so all one word, Erricka Wonder Voice. On Facebook, I'm Erricka Bridgeford. And my page is public, so anybody can. I'm at 5,000 friends, but if you still send me a request, it makes you automatically follow me. And you can always see my stuff because it's public. The Baltimore Community Mediation Center, same name on Facebook, communitymediation.org website, where you can request mediation. You can ask how to be a volunteer, all of that kind of stuff. So, yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You are such an inspiration. I'm definitely speaking so much blessings and abundance over you.
I appreciate it.
And
it has been a blessing to me to meet you, and I am grateful to Edwin and to my brother and any of our other people on the other side who was like, you know what we need to do? Make sure they're in the same place at the same time. Yep. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So I'm very grateful about that.
Me too.
So yeah, thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you. I appreciate you so much. Thank y'all for tuning in. Bye, Ericka. Thank you.
Bye.
Confirm no say, and I'll never get played.